Good. Good evening, everyone. Time is 6 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Before we proceed this evening, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge a profound loss felt across our entire community. It is with deep sadness that we acknowledge the passing of Councillor Ruth Lockett. Ruth was more than just a colleague around this table. She was a dedicated public servant, a passionate advocate for the people of Prescott, a tireless champion for those whose voices most needed to be heard, as well as a dear friend. Whether she was advocating for seniors, supporting local initiatives, or simply lending a listening ear to residents, Ruth served with heart, with humility, and with unwavering commitment. Her presence, her wisdom, and her compassion will be sorely missed, not just in this chamber, but in every corner of our town that she touched. On behalf of the entire council and the town of Prescott, I extend our deepest condolences to Ruth's family, her friends, and all who had the privilege of working alongside her. In a few moments, council will hear a motion to officially declare Councillor Lockett's seat vacant, as required under the Municipal Act. While this is a necessary procedural step, it does not and will not diminish Ruth's presence in our hearts or in the work we do moving forward. At this time, I would ask that we observe a moment of silence in honor of Ruth Lockett's life and legacy. Thank you, everyone. We will now proceed with tonight's agenda. First things first is approval of the agenda. The motion is that the agenda for the council meeting of April 22nd, 2025 be approved as presented, and that item 15, new business, be advanced to immediately proceed item 2, approval of agenda. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Young and Councillor, hold on, Councillor Burton. Question?
Yeah. How can you approve moving something before approving approval of the agenda? Something doesn't seem right there to me.
I think that's like, it's almost like an amended agenda, amended motion.
That makes sense, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So we'll go to 15, the new business right away. Thought we'd get this out of the way early. 15.1 is the declaration of vacancy for Councillor Ruth Lockett. Motion is that council declare the office of Town Councillor Ruth Lockett to be vacant as required in accordance with Section 262 of the Municipal Act 2001. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Burton and Councillor McConnell. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any declarations of interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. We don't have any presentations or delegations, so the next thing on the agenda is the minutes of the previous council meeting. Motion is that council minutes dated March 17th, 2025 be accepted as presented. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Campbell, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Communications and petitions, there is the letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the strong mayor powers. So we have this letter in our communications, and we are going to be getting a supplementary report in a future council meeting, probably next month. Is there any discussion on the letter? Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Schenker. I believe under the information report, there's a letter from the mayor of Elizabeth Kidley in regards to the same thing. I completely agree with that. I would like to have that pulled out when the appropriate time comes, but it is my fervent hope that you share his viewpoint. And we discussed this last term when this came out from the provincial government and was directed at the major cities, Ottawa and Toronto, as you well know, you were part of that. And I think the council was in agreement that it wasn't a good thing. That's my opinion anyway, that it took away the idea of the democracy of electing a council and a mayor and put more power in a mayor's hand. I don't believe the majority of council agreed with that. I certainly don't agree with it. And I was very concerned when I saw that being downloaded to rural and small communities like ours. So when time comes, as you say, there'll be a report next month. I would take part in the discussion. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Councilor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Schenker, just while we're speaking on the matter, I actually missed the part that was coming back in May when I was reading it on Thursday. So I spent the weekend reviewing it. There's actually letters online. So, you know, what I would encourage the rest of my councillors to do is to familiarize yourself with the process, read where it's been used. Any time it's been used, there's a submission that has to be done by the mayor that is putting forward the veto or the bylaw. So, you know, you can go and look and read all that's public knowledge. And there's a lot of information out there. So before it comes back, I would encourage all council to familiarize yourself with the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know for myself, like I've said all along that I'm not interested in strong mayor powers at all. I thought that was a Toronto, Ottawa thing. But now they're downloading it down to 169 municipalities. So I just don't know how much fight it's worth. It's just, I think it's dependent upon each mayor, whether he's going to use it or not. But I'm happy to wait for the report and see what staff suggests or the pros and cons of everything moving forward. Okay, Councillor Campbell?
I just have a question. So when it comes down, is the mayor granted those powers and then council votes as we see whether yes or no, or does council vote, yes, we give you?
No, I think the powers have been set down from the provincial government. And I see other mayors like Councillor McConnell said, Brad Burrow has said he doesn't want it. And that's fine, but I still think they have it. Do you know what I mean? I don't think, and that's what we're going to get the report on to see what the options are.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. So moving on, 8.1 is the council information, consent reports. So the motion is that all items listed under the consent reports section of the agenda be accepted as presented. We'll get a mover and seconder unless we want to move something out. Does anyone want to move it out? Should we get a mover and seconder first? Yes. Okay. So let's get a mover and seconder. Councillor Burton, Councillor Young, and then we can see who wants to take. Did you say you wanted to take that one out?
I do, but given unusual circumstances, if I can pull it out, can we have it put back in the same meeting that we do? I think that would be the most.
We'll pull it out and then bring it with the report.
Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment on a couple of items if
Sure.
that's possible. So I just wanted to make note and congratulate Caitlin Mallory on her Association of
Thank you.
Municipality Managers, Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario. Caitlin graduated with honors, so well done. And then just make note of the Upper Canada School Board investing 12 million in sports infrastructure across the Upper Canada School Board, which would be really nice to see South Grenville receive some of that funding because it's probably desperately needed there to bring things back to how it used to be and make it a school of destination again.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Great. All right, so do we have to change the motion, Ms. Preston? So the motion would be, unless you're working on that, yeah. Okay, so the motion is that all items listed on the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented, other than remove the letter from Mayor Burrows and direct the letter returned with the staff report to rise with the regard to strong mayor. Are you, the mover and seconder, okay with those changes?
Yeah.
I think it was you two?
Mhm.
Yeah, so all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, no committee reports tonight. Mayor's report. Couple of things. There was, since our last meeting, we had mayor's breakfast in Maitland. That was hosted by Augusta Township. That was very good. It was a really nice event, very well attended. The hotel opening, the grand opening. We had Joint Services Committee a couple of weeks ago. And then last weekend, there was the art show at the Legion that was very well attended. The opening of the golf club, all their renovations and a new restaurant, and the train show. The train show, which was very successful, and kudos to Stuart. We were present today when he handed a check to the food bank for $5,000. And not to let the cat out of the bag, but he also has a check for the library for $3,000 coming. So, you know, what a successful event. 1,000+ people attended. And, you know, that's just so good for the town that $8,000 is going back to the town like that. So we're trying to talk him into a 2-day event. Tracy and I were trying to talk, and Dana too, for sure. So that was really nice. And then later on today, we went to the Dragon Garden, has new owners. Ray Zito. Anyway, very nice gentleman. And the interesting news on that is that he has promised to open up in-house dining. So that's very, very good news for the town. Having said that, I'm going to go around the table. I'm going to actually start with Councillor Campbell because she was at the Ontario Good Roads. So you have a report for us.
Well, it's included. I'm not going to read through it, but I just want to thank the town of Prescott for the opportunity to attend the Good Roads Conference. It is one of my passions as councillor to make our town safer for pedestrians and cyclists and automobiles as well. I attended the keynote presentation session on transportation equity, and the challenges there are urban versus rural. We are known as a rural community because outside our boundaries, we have all rural. So it's how to get those people into town. The challenges are public engagement, limited data, and a lack of planning. And they were talking about you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So you need the 4 E's of engineering, education, enforcement, and evaluation. And you have to educate before enforcing. So I know we've talked sometimes about OPP, you know, giving tickets, whatever, but we need to educate the community before we get into that. So it was a great conference. I always meet a lot of cool people, and thanks again.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Campbell? No? All right, thank you. Councillor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar.
Ooh.
But you're dark hole.
Right? Okay.
It's your entrance song.
Thank you. Thank you. I was also at the Quality and Grand opening, and I can just say, wow. Absolutely. They've done such a wonderful job. Every time you get off the elevator, there's a huge picture of our town. every single floor has a different, has the opportunity of going to the different rooms and the suites. Indoor pool is fabulous as well. They're so welcoming and they fed us and with their traditional food, and it was just so welcoming and just, it's an excellent grand opening. The train show, over 1,000 people, like you said, like he's really done a good job bringing people to our town. He said that over 30 rooms were rented at the hotel for the venue,
Oh,
the train show. Yeah. So, and that's it for me. Thank you.
thank you, Councilor Burton. Councilor Young.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Shankar. We attended Voice to Net opening downtown. And so another business in downtown Prescott that we have welcomed. The Economic Development Department is really busy right now. Dana is attending a Destination Canada Cycle Tourism Seminar tomorrow. There's going to be a brochure launch for the Leeds and Granville Tourism Adventure. So that we're looking forward to that. The home show is this weekend at the Leo. The wayfinding signage is now complete. The mural project is scheduled to be completed May 16th. The 401 digital billboard advertising is going to be in effect. So eastbound, it'll be displayed at Mallorytown, westbound at Ingleside, and it's in partnership with the Quality Inn Hotel. I attended the children's Easter bingo at the Legion on Saturday. It was so well done. It was so well done. I couldn't believe it, but it really showed the Brockville Lions Club, King's Kitchen, and the Legion all got together and put this on, and what a great community event. It was really well attended, and it was nice to see something that was planned and executed that didn't have to involve our town staff, so it gives them a break. The plannings for the National Economic Development Week is coming from May 11th to May 17th. The Center Street South patio looks fabulous, and it has the viewfinders, and there's a viewfinder that's also accessible at a lower height. And then the season preparation for the pop-ups, the lighthouse and the dive site are all underway. So our AcDev department is extremely busy right now. So thanks to them for all their hard work. That's all for me.
Thank you, Councilor Young.
Thank you.
It's always great that you always pick up the ones that I forget. Councilor McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Well, I arrived back in town last Friday and have been driving around and wandering around and getting myself reacquainted with what has transpired physically since I was gone. I was pleased to see the patio that Tracy here mentioned in the water was finished, and the fact that it doesn't actually go right to the water. There is a walkway in front of it which continues west and east. So that actually is good for the continuous walking path that we have down there now. So I was very happy to see that. I mentioned to you the wayfinding signage at the foot of the railroad overpass, which has been redone. And you can actually read what's on it now, which is a good thing because they were so small before that, well, I couldn't read it, and I can read it quite plainly now. So kudos to our staff for looking after that. Saturday, I took a tour through the cemetery. As you know, I'm council's appointee to the cemetery, and I've kind of concerned myself with the grounds there. And I'm pleased to say that we didn't have any major damage over the winter in the cemetery. Last year, there were some larger branches down, but not so this year. The branches that have come down are smaller, and there's been no stone damage other than what you might see with normal frost heavage. I didn't see any incidents of any malicious damage in the cemetery. So a minor cleanup there is what we'll be looking at. I mentioned it to Bob this afternoon. So I helped with the cleanup at the Giant Tiger and grocery store area this morning. It was a lot of stuff. I found a lot of socks this year for some strange reason. Every year it is something. This year it was socks. Although I understand Ryan found a pool cover out there. Don't know where that blew from. And I understand a pair of men's briefs were also recovered. You can look to the Public Works Department if you've lost them and you want to get them back. This afternoon, of course, with yourself and other members of council, I attended the changing of hands, I guess you might say, the Dragon Garden restaurant. And nothing was said at the time, but I just like to comment on that. Back in the 80s and 90s, when I had a furniture store on the main street of Prescott, it was right next to the Dragon Garden. They shared my parking lot, although they didn't offer to help pay the taxes on it, but they did share it. But at that time, the three boys, Dale was alive at the time, who died in a tragic accident. Their grandmother worked in the kitchen as well, as did their father and mother. And the three boys grew up there. David, who he was still in school, I mean, he used to come in his baseball uniform and go in. And then in later years, Don's children worked at that restaurant, and there are not many instances of 4 generations working at one business these days. And I think we owe them a great deal of thanks as a family for choosing Prescott to settle in and for the work that they put into that restaurant over the years, and for the fact that they found somebody to pass it on to who, strangely enough, has the same name, spelled differently and not related. So I just thought that was worth mentioning, the 4 generations of the one family.
Yeah, it's a nice, nice thing to do. It's good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Just on that note about the street patio there, or the waterfront patio, it is accessible, so that's kind of nice. And I didn't realize that about the viewfinder being at a lower level. That's great. So that's really good. Sorry, Counselor Kirkby.
It's fine. I attended the Leo Boyven Showcase, which, you know, had an unfortunate event, but it was a very well planned out tournament. Outside of that, we had 11 teams, 3 used the hotel. Was featured on a very popular podcast on Monday that reached, I think, 50,000 viewers plus. You know, so it's, you know, just kind of demonstrated what sports can bring to a town like Prescott, especially now that we have a hotel in town. You know, I'm sure next year that hotel will be filled with teams coming to play hockey in Prescott, and not just that tournament, but other tournaments that the association is planning. So I just wanted to talk that. And then I was in for a walk on Good Friday. Parks guy, I saw Parks guy down there, and I said, it's Good Friday. He says, yeah, but the rink never closes, and I have an hour to kill before my first ice. And so he was actually down putting the sunshade up down at the Centennial Park, which I just thought that's great use of time. You know, he probably could have chose to sit up at the rink and, you know, get the Zamboni ready, but he went out and hung that up. So just a comment on the positive things that I observed with staff. And then today I participated in the community cleanup. I saw Councillor McConnell there, and I didn't have as interesting of finds, but there was a lot. And it's a little disappointing to see how much is out there. That's the one thing I will say. It's a little bit disappointing to see how much litter is throughout the streets at times. It's only the people's fault that puts it there. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Around again.
You have an addition?
Yeah. fire admin.
Sure.
On April 1st, the fire admin met. March 8th, they had their food drive and they brought in 5,291 monetary donations and $3,200 worth of food donations.
Wow.
April 14th, the truck committee conducted their monthly maintenance. April 15th, the training committee focused on their ladder placement training. And the April anniversaries are Peter Veldkamp for 11 years and Jeff Stewart for 2 years.
Good. And soon, Councillor Campbell will be looking at a new fire truck. We got pictures coming there, chief?
We would like to bring it to council in May, first meeting in May. 5:30 for the meeting, and if you wanted to come down and have a look and go for a quick zip, we can
Ooh,
after that,
get the siren going?
possibly.
Right in the back.
Oh, right in the back. Very good.
Councilor Campbell has already been in.
Oh. Privilege, eh? Lucky. All right, thanks, everyone.
If I may,
Yeah.
Councillor Kirby was commenting on my specific interest in garbage, and I just wanted to mention that he picked up 4 bags to my 2, so he was more interested in quality and I was more interested in quantity.
Quantity and quality. Very good.
That was actually just a joke. I only picked up one.
Yeah, quality and quantity.
I guess.
I couldn't let that go.
Our-
Yes.
So we're gonna move on to, we have 5 staff reports tonight. The first one is staff report 2020-25. Yes, that's right. Prescott Porch Fest. So the motion is that council approves the establishment of the Prescott Porch Fest and the council designate Prescott Porch Fest as an event of municipal significance. I need a mover and a seconder, and then we'll pass it. Councillor Burton, Councillor Young, Dana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Schenker, and through you to council. So I do apologize ahead of time for not bringing this in tandem with our Beer Fest event. Next year, we will bring all events under one report to council just to try and expedite any sort of municipally significant events approvals that are required. But this is going to be very similar to the request that was brought forward for Beer Fest. We are partnered with the South Grenville Events Committee. They approached the town, another great example of a third party approaching the town to utilize our property and resources without the town having to actually be the event organizer. They're planning a Porch Fest, series of Porch Fest events, one of which they would like to hold in Prescott on May 31st. The other 2 would be held in Merrickville and Spencerville. So essentially, the event involves music being played on a number of porches throughout the community, usually residential, some commercial porches, free of charge for anyone who wants to tour and listen to usually a great mix of local artists, mostly acoustic music during the afternoon. So it would be scheduled from 1 to 4 p.m. And the event would culminate with an evening dinner and musical performance that would be located here in the Grand Room at Town Hall. And as part of this event, we would have alcohol service that would be provided by Windmill Brewery. They would be providing the catering and alcohol service at the dinner. So only the dinner portion of the event, which would have a headlining musical act, would be licensed. The Porch Fest event would not be licensed whatsoever. Now, I can't stop people from, what they want to put in their cups as they walk from porch to porch, but we're not promoting this as a licensed event whatsoever, just the evening activities. And it would be, like I say, it would be a unique 0 to low cost experience for residents and visitors to enjoy, showcasing a variety of local artists. Event attendees would stroll from porch to porch. We'd feature several musical genres, and we're hoping that we can secure 16 porches. So we would have 16 locations throughout town, but 32 performances happening between that 3-hour, 4-hour period. So people could choose. There would always be multiple performances happening on multiple stages. And essentially what we're really targeting here for properties, I'm sure as you're all familiar, we've got some fantastic heritage, and just really great historic properties with some beautiful porches I discovered as we were touring around Prescott, kind of identifying some potential properties. So those are the ones that we've really tried to target first, as a way to also feature some of the great heritage properties that we have in our community. We've had a few come on board already, and it's, we're currently at 12 porches. So we're very close to that 16 porch goal. And I won't take you through just a little blurb here on the requirements for special occasion permits. But this, again, I really just wanted to touch on it being a great example of a private-public event partnership where we provide very little aside from in-kind resources and some promotional support. And we have this fantastic event in our community that's already received a really great response. Just in, some initial conversations that we're having with some of those porch owners. People are very excited about it. It's something different and very accessible to anyone, families, couples, young and old. And we're hoping it would be a nice visitor draw as well. So as far as the event itself, it certainly aligns well with the town's strategic plan and economic development and tourism strategy by attracting visitors, supporting small businesses, and activating public spaces. And an event notice has been circulated to other departments for feedback, including fire, building, and bylaw as part of the special occasion permit requirements. Now, something I did want to mention is that I believe this operator does have the ability to go with a catering endorsement for the event. So we may go with that route versus a special occasion permit, but the AGCO does still need to be notified of any catering endorsements. So as well as the fire health unit. So we certainly want to ensure that we're following that due process. And then for financial implications, very little financial cost. It wouldn't exceed $1,500. That would be, some direct costs for musician fees, where you'd be contributing to some of that, some marketing supports and event supplies, and then we would be requesting the fee waiver of the town hall rental fee for the event to take place. Environmental implications, it will prioritize sustainability by implementing waste management initiatives such as composting and recycling. And the event's walkable location within the community promotes reduced vehicular traffic and supports active transportation. And just as a conclusion, that presents a strategic opportunity to enhance economic development, support businesses. And we think that with the strong partnerships and some strong planning, this certainly has the potential to grow into a multi-year event. And then as far as council alternatives, you could decide to modify or decline the recommendation at this time. And I've also included a list with a preliminary map of stage locations, most of which would be south of the tracks. We have a couple others targeted for in the northeast quadrant of the town that we hope to add as well. Happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Kirkby.
Through you, Mayor Schenker. Dana, I think it's a great idea. I wonder about parking along the route, and I wonder if this would be a time where you maybe want to use that trolley service to get around town, or to have a general area for people to park maybe. I just worry about, if you really had 50 people show up to a house to watch it, how congested is that street? I'm just wondering if there's been any thought about that and the trolley even maybe being used.
So we did make a point of targeting properties that are set back from the road as much as possible, that have a nice lawn, a nice large lawn area for, if we did get a large congregation of people going from one porch to another. We did consider possible public transportation, and we actually utilized River Route Bus for the train show event as a bit of a pilot to test that and see what level of uptake that had. I have to say, I was quite disappointed in the numbers. According to the driver, there were only 15 people that utilized that bus throughout the day, which I have to say was very perplexing, because I swear I saw every one of those 15 people get on it at the Leo. I saw 2 large groups get on it, and I talked to 2 families who got on. So, but according to the driver, only 15 people use that bus throughout the day. And It was certainly well promoted for days leading up to the event. We promoted it through the River Route marketing, as, social media, as well as through our town, the event pages. The train show organizers promoted it quite effectively. And we just had signage throughout the community, and the signage actually brought people into the train show. I talked to people who came by our booth that said they saw the signage and came into didn't realize the train show was on. So it was unfortunately a bit of a disappointment, but I think with anything, it's something that you have to be consistent in, and just doing it once isn't necessarily the best test. People aren't really used to that being available as an option. So, I would suggest, and for the cost, it was very affordable. I don't think it cost us more than $400 to bring the trolley in for the duration of the train show. So something that we could certainly
It
entertain.
wouldn't be a bad idea. I know, like, when you go to the bigger cities, New York City or whatever, you go from one stop to the other stop to the other stop. And the buses there, every 45 minutes or something. Might be a good way to transport people around if, we said park at the Leo. And, maybe we charge,
Yeah.
maybe that's part of the ticket price, is that, you can park at the Leo and pick up a shuttle to, let's do a loop through town.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think it's a good idea.
But I think, yeah, it's certainly something that we could explore this for a fairly nominal cost.
Dana, so you have 16 porches between 1 and 5, and then from 5 o'clock on, you're here?
It's just at town hall, yes.
So will there be a show, like multiple shows at the same time?
Yes, on the porches. So 2 shows always happening, not a ton, like we wouldn't have 5 or 6. We
Right.
want people to be accessible. And only have to choose between a couple of shows at any given time, but ideally, that's the plan, is to have 2 performances happening concurrently on 2 porches.
Gotcha. Okay. Councilor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Schenker. That was one of my questions as well. So you have multiple porches doing multiple music throughout the whole day between those hours. So I don't see, in my opinion, use of a trolley, because how long is a song? Right? If you want to stay for 3 songs, by the time you get to the next porch, they might be finishing their set and go to the next porch, because you gotta include your travel time to each porch.
Each one, yeah.
Right? Is it walking distance? Is it a 5-minute drive? Is it a 3-minute drive? The song is 5 minutes long per song, right? So I think this is a great idea. The only thing, I may have missed it, is there a cost for the night show?
For the night show, we're just kind of figuring out what the cost, just to simply cover more like the food cost for that.
Okay.
But it would be, a very nominal fee for the evening, but there would certainly, yes, be a cost associated for the dinner.
Your cost, okay. And I'm assuming age majority as well?
Yes, definitely. Now, we would have it banded, very similar to other licensed events where, someone wanted to bring their family in, a couple of which are minor, they certainly, would have the minor underage bands and wouldn't be served. Now, the grand room itself only holds, I think, about 150 people seated, if even that much. So we're not talking about, a large party. It wouldn't be an outdoor thing. It would all be indoors. So no disturbances to the surrounding neighbors.
And will there be a list? I'm sorry, my map doesn't really show where it is very well. It's kind of clouded. But is it mostly residential from what I've
Mostly
seen?
residential with a couple downtown locations. At Renegades for one, they've agreed to participate. We also wanted to include some restaurants as a way to, because a lot of our restaurants are offering live entertainment during the evenings and daytime. So we really wanted to also turn it into a way to feature the downtown and really bring people into that space, as well as the residential areas, and potentially introduce people to some areas of Prescott that they've never seen that could result in some new residential interest. But a really good mix, but I would say probably a 90-10 split between residential and commercial.
Great. Any other questions? Oh, where we go? Councillor Young and Councillor McConnell?
I just wanted to say I endorse it totally. I think it's a great idea. Music brings people together, brings a community together. The homeowners get to display their porches and have their pride with that. And I think it sounds like a really fun event.
Great, thank you. Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Schenker. I think it's a great idea too, but I just like to get one thing clarified. And I think you did, but I just want to make sure in the financial implications paragraph there, maybe it's just the way it's worded. It says a direct financial cost to municipality will not exceed $1,500. And then a sentence down below, the town hall rental fee will be requested a fee waiver and some direct costs will be incurred for items, blah, blah, blah. You did say the some direct costs are the $1,500, did you not? It's not $1,500 plus some costs for other things.
No, so the direct cost is the 1,500.
Okay, I thought that's what you said. I just clarify that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So we have a mover and a seconder. We're gonna call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Thank you, Dana. Okay, next one is the staff report 21-2025, the site plan information for 119 Irvin Road. Prescott, this is for information. And do we have Tim on the line? We do. Okay. Tim Fisher, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is a site plan control application, application number 2025-01. The address is 199 Irvine Road. I'd like to just start here by saying with recent changes to the Planning Act, site plan control applications are no longer approved by the Planning Advisory Committee or Council, but it is delegated to staff. The Planning Advisory Committee and Council are given an opportunity to review the application and provide feedback. The applicant submitted an application for site plan control and has provided the necessary drawings and studies to review the development. A copy of the site plan and landscape plan was attached to the planning report for your review. The applicant is seeking to redevelop the site at 199 Irvine Road. The applicant proposes to remove the existing commercial building and develop the site in 2 different phases. The first phase is to develop a grocery store on the site, which is actually building A. The structure will be located on the northern portion of the property. And will maintain the road access from Irvine Road for the purposes of shipping and receiving. Parking will be located on the south and east sides of the grocery store, which will provide approximately 126 parking spaces, which will include 4 barrier-free parking spaces, 3 family parking spaces, 4 electrical vehicle charging stations, and 5 dedicated cart corral areas. There are 3 future customer pickup spaces as well too for online orders. Vehicle access to the site is proposed from Irvine Road, Edward Street, and Churchill Road West. The second phase will be developed to the south, which you see there in a gray. So this would be phase 2, which would accommodate 56 parking spaces and 2 commercial buildings, which would be building B and C. Now, these 2 buildings, from the appearance of how they're designed, could be a retail or restaurant use sort of thing. Sidewalks and landscaping is provided around each of the building, which will provide separation from the pedestrian and vehicle accesses. It's also important to note that both phases are going to be function independently. So phase 2 shouldn't interfere with the existing parking of the phase 1. However, obviously there is additional parking there if parking in phase 2 is completely full. Other people can park obviously in phase 1 and vice versa. So under the official plan, the site is designated general commercial on Schedule A, the town's official plan. The proposed development conforms with the permitted uses in the general commercial designation, which also includes grocery stores, restaurants, and general retail uses. Under zoning, the site is currently zoned general commercial C1 in the town of Prescott zoning bylaw 09-2009 as amended. The permitted uses also include restaurants, food supermarket, and various retail uses. Based on our review of the proposal, it does comply with all the required setbacks and all the other requirements in the zoning bylaw. In conclusion, after reviewing the submitted documentation and working with the applicant to address any concerns noted throughout this process, staff is satisfied that this site plan application can be brought forward to council for its review and feedback. Staff is working with the applicant to finalize the draft site plan control agreement at this time. I leave this in your hands and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. We have a few questions. Councillor Kirk.
Through you, Mayor Shankar.
Hey, Tim.
Just wondering, the sidewalk will lead from Churchill into the parking lot is that correct? Or sorry, from Edward?
Let me just take a quicker look at the drawing here.
My pictures are a bit smudged.
Yeah, what's going on with the pictures?
Her pictures are.
If you go further down and you're on the computer, there's a bigger one. It's much better.
Yeah.
Did look at them.
Sorry, so just looking at the drawings here, there does appear to be a walkway from Edward Street that enters onto the site.
Okay.
But not on Church, sorry.
But not on Churchill or Edward, or Irving, which is fine.
Churchill will probably be okay.
Yeah, Churchill would be fine. It'll be Edward that you come off, right? But the backside is Irving, where you'll have the kids crossing, coming up from Burger King.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah, so I was just kind of wondering where there's sidewalk inside. I didn't really see it on the map, to be honest, but maybe I missed that there. So it's just on coming up from Edward Street is what it looks like. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does look like that. The drawing is kind of hard to tell here where a sidewalk is provided off of Churchill, but there is just trying to see here. Yeah, it looks like the sidewalk is only being provided right now off of Edward Street. I don't see in the drawing here, but I can definitely look into that there a little further as we're talking.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Young?
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
Can you address the vehicle access on Edward Street? Because I think what I understood is that when you were leaving, you wouldn't be able to make a left. Is that right? Like it was only one lane in and one lane out to the right?
That's right. It's only a right in, right out.
Right in, right out. Okay.
Okay. Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. In my travels the last few months, I've visited an awful lot of commercial developments, restaurants, stores, whatever. And what I've noticed in many cases, when there is a new development, there's a requirement to build a sidewalk along the street in front of that development, whether there is a sidewalk on either side of it or not. And in this particular case, we have our new arena down at the far end of Churchill Road, and we are going to have to build a sidewalk to it sooner rather than later. So it seems to me this is a pretty good chunk along there. It seems to me we should be requiring the developer to provide a sidewalk at the very least along the north side of Churchill Road, encompassing their development. And given the short space from the east end of that development to the corner, then I would say we would put that in our budget and finish the sidewalk right from the corner that would lead to the west end of this property. And that would be a very good start for us getting a sidewalk up to the arena. Now, is this thing laid in stone, or is that something we can require, or what? I'm sure that these people have developed stuff in other communities. This is not something that would be coming out of the woodwork.
Through Mr. Chair, that is something that we can look into. Now we are kind of quite far into this process already, but we can definitely talk to the applicant about possibly providing a sidewalk there, or looking at maybe providing like a cash in lieu in sorts. But that's something that we would have to negotiate with them. And then this way, if we want to place the sidewalk, the township can do it at their own time when we're ready to create that, either on that side of the street or the opposite side of the street.
Well, thank you, and I would appreciate it that you would pursue that. But in my opinion, that's what's wrong with this entire process, because few years ago, this would have been coming to council for input a long time before this. Staff would not be the ones that would be approving this. Council's input would be taken into the actual planning of the thing. And I think that's a big drawback right now to development in this town. Our input is too late. Thank you.
That's a point of clarification. It would have come back at the exact same time. There was no difference in time.
Thank you. Councillor Burton?
Thank you. Tim, it says in the report about each building will have their own separate earth bins. Can you explain that and how it's going to work and how it's going to be removed, I believe, or emptied? How does that work?
Yeah, so the earth bins are a new way of dealing with garbage, more or less, from the uses on site. Instead of the standard, bins where you would have to have them fenced in, they try to make them more pleasing to the eye, type of thing. And what they are is they're large cylinder bins that are placed partially underground, or I should say in ground. And once they're full, the trucks will come by and pick these up and then empty, and then again place them back into their holders there. The timing when this is done, that's completely up to the retailer or the leasee. Obviously, if they have to be done sooner, it'd be up to them to have the contract to have them come in and empty them.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkby?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Schenker, I do agree with Councillor McConnell that, now is probably the time to think about running a sidewalk from Edward to the entrance, I wish the entrance was a little closer, but to the entrance on Churchill, for the simple fact that people will probably use the four-way cross and the lights there to cross, to access it that are on foot. And, you know, we've seen an influx of people walking down that road going to the Elaine Chartrand Community Center or just walking. But, you know, it might be a really good opportunity to think about, while they're pouring a sidewalk there, is there any benefit to having that same company? If there's benefits to be saved while they're there, to pour a sidewalk from Edward to the entrance on Churchill, north of Churchill.
Question?
So we're talking about completely replacing perhaps the gutter. We're talking about, we wouldn't do sidewalks, we would do a multi-use path. There's a number of things here that would kind of be well outside of site plan control.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to kind of make that note. Also, unless you were accessing the B and C building, chances are that you're going to walk up Edward, go down the sidewalk laneway and into the grocery store.
Potentially, there's no real sidewalk that runs across there. That's great.
That's phase two though, as well, right? BNC is phase two, so there is time for us to look into maybe as a project sidewalks for that Churchill Road.
Right.
Yeah, my only worry is just that one section, you have the gas station. It's not a welcoming crossing through there.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Tim? Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Your day is done.
Thank you. All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you. All right, moving on to 12.3 is staff report 22-2025. It's the RSL shareholders agreement. The motion is that council approve bylaw 16-2025, being a bylaw to approve the unanimous shareholder agreement with Rito St. Lawrence Holdings Incorporated. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Burton, and Matthew, you've got this one? Okay.
So before council this evening is a bylaw to ratify the agreement for the unanimous shareholders with agreement between numerous municipalities and Rito St. Lawrence. As council will recall, Mr. Wu presented in late January with regards to the shareholders agreement. Our counterparts of South Dundas, Westport, and Edwardsburg Cardinal have subsequently passed their bylaws to enact and ratify the agreement, and we are presenting the same to follow suit.
Excellent. Any questions? Seeing no questions, I'm just going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Ms. Preston. All right, moving on to 12.4, staff report 23-2025, the 2025 operational budget. Motion is that council approves the 2025 operational budget with total revenues and expenditures of $12,050,526, and that council approve the 2025 water and wastewater budget with a total revenues and expenditures of $3,320,258. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Young and Councillor Kirkby. And Matthew, you gonna take this one?
So as you can see, the outline various meetings that have occurred since December and going through each of those as we discuss various portions of the budget. We're currently sitting at a municipal property tax increase of 3.95% and a blended overall tax increase of 3.43%. The reason why there's a reduction when you get to the blended is that the education property tax rate is not changing year from year. So when we take a look at how it aligns with the our various strategic plans, certainly we're continuing to work on encouraging significant housing, and that will be enabled through the water and waste water expansion into Augusta. zoning bylaw will be updated this year, economic development committee creation, new events in Ribfest as well as Porchfest that are occurring this year. And then we're continuing to also support the Prescott Family Health physicians and the Health Force innovations to promote community healthcare and aging, active living in the town. And then continuing to look at some of the other areas that we're also focused on. Water treatment plant filter upgrade will be completed this year. The branding and marketing strategy will create a cohesive foot forward so that we can increase tourism and knowledge of the town of Prescott, as well as the new wayfinding signage that has been installed and continuing the growth of the pop-ups and experiential vendors. So there was a request by a couple of members of council to take a look at what it would look like if the overall blended rate increase was at 3.95%. And so we ran the numbers, and if we were to move to a property tax rate increase of 4.55 and then moving to a blended of 3.95, that would result in additional revenue of $39,492, which could be put in the fiscal policy reserve to address several unknown financial impacts, such as tariffs and inflationary pressures that we expect to continue throughout 2025. When we take a look at the budget, as mentioned earlier, a total of $12,050,000 for both the operational side for revenue and expenditure, and then the water and wastewater budget at $3.3 million. Inclusive of that, in the operational budget, we put into reserve just shy of 1.3 million, and the wastewater budgets would contribute to reserve of 445,000. That doesn't reflect the outages of those reserves that would occur as part of the various projects, but we'll discuss that in the next meeting.
Thanks, Chief.
Or in our next report. The water and wastewater budgets do require a 4% rate increase effective July 1st of 2025. So one happy to answer any questions there might be.
We'll start with Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Schenker. Matthew, math wasn't exactly my strong point, but page 61, under analysis, it says resulting in an overall property tax rate increase of 3.40%. And then right underneath that table, the table below illustrates the effect on the median property in each category of the 3.40 overall tax increase. Now, am I missing something, or is that a printing error?
3.4, it should be 3.43.
Yes, just when I added the extra digit in a couple of the tables, then it moved from 3.4 to 3.43.
Okay, so the increase is not 3.40, it's 3.43.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councillor Kirkby?
Yeah, we're just looking at the one table, comparing it to the other. I just think, the alternative of 3.95 that is including of the educational tax, I think it puts our fiscal reserve in a little better spot, especially during these uncertain times of our neighbor and the impacts that the tariffs could have on operations, i.e. Supplies, vehicle replacements, chemicals that need to be bought. I'm never an advocate of being higher on the tax side, but I think at times with good reason, I can be fine with going to that higher percentage, to ensure that the overall health and stability of the fiscal reserve in the town has a little more cushion in there, I guess. That's kind of how I feel about it, is I would be in favor of the alternative at 3.95.
The blended rate, 3.95?
That would be yes, the blunt rate, the total rate. It's a hard one to say, but I feel like during these times, we could probably use that cushion.
Councillor Young?
I agree with Councillor Kirkby too. I think it's really important. I mean, we have a lot of projects on the go. And even though we've set aside contingencies for it, we're not sure how these tariffs are going to affect us. And the fiscal reserve, I find it a little bit on the low side. It's nice to keep some funds in there so that if the unexpected happens, we can tap into that funding. So I would definitely be in favor of the alternative at the 3.95.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. We already have 1% built into this for the infrastructure reserve. We've been doing that for many years. And Matthew, this is going to put you on the spot, and if you can't answer, maybe give us a ballpark. Since we've done that, can you give a ballpark figure of how much we have? Well, we haven't really tucked it away because we've been spending it as required, but how much is that 1% raised over the time period that we've been doing it?
So I can state that in 2025, if passed as currently proposed, that we're putting 464,000 in just in 2025. But I can take a crack at doing the calculation.
I'm not going to hold you to it, but the ballpark. Within 2,000 or 3,000.
That's all.
I'm joking.
I think when you look at some of our neighboring municipalities and some of the percentage rates that they are proposing or they've finalized, I think if we're still coming in under 4%, we are in the higher percentiles, of being fiscally responsible. So
We have a big project in that East Street reconstruction coming too, right?
and we continue to do things, right?
Approximately $1.6 million that we've raised and spent over that time.
Having said that, I mean, what's one of our road projects?
Road projects run anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million, depending on what we're doing.
So nothing's getting cheaper. Anyone else? Questions? Councillor Campbell?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, to Mr. Armstrong. So when something's in fiscal reserve, does it ever get categorized as for roads or for, it's just in the pot?
So you remember several times over the past several years, when we took a look at the CCTV project, we said that was going to be funded by fiscal reserve. The $30,000 that we've been donating to the Rockland District Hospital Foundation has come from fiscal reserve. This year, there's also the branding strategy to the implementation will be coming from fiscal reserve. So while there's no specific project, we do it as we go and highlight and identify the ones that perhaps don't fit in any other bucket. And if there's funding available, then pulling it from fiscal policy.
And council would have the opportunity to vote on
Absolutely.
that.
Okay, you got another question?
No,
Sorry. Okay. Seeing no further questions, there's a question for Chloe. Sorry, Ms. Preston. Is the motion stay the way it is?
Through you,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, we could entertain a friendly amendment to revise the total revenue and expenditure to encompass the blended rate of 3.95, which would amend the total revenues and expenditures to $12,090,018.
Okay. So do you want me to reread that with that number, $90,018? 018. And then the wastewater one would stay the same, right?
Correct.
Okay. So is that friendly amendment work with the mover and the seconder? I think it was Councilor Kirkby and Councillor Young, is that good with you guys?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. All right, next one is 12.5, staff report 24-2025. Capital and operating projects. The motion is that council approves of 2025 capital and operating projects as outlined in staff report 24-2025. Mover and seconder, Councillor Burton and Councillor Campbell. Matthew, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So the report identifies the various steps that we went through to come up with the capital and operational projects. Obviously, some large ones for this year are the reconstruction of East Street. That tender closed last week. We're happy to say that it's within what we thought in terms of budget. We will be bringing a report back on May 5th to make a recommendation in terms of whether we do the 2 blocks or the 3 blocks in this fiscal year. The docks tender has been awarded and work is underway. There's several other items in there, such as truck replacement, river bus replacement, that we have put in an application to the Canadian Rural Transit Solutions Fund to see if we're successful in that. Continuation of the Brockville and District Hospital Foundation donation, that's year 8 of 10. The Tri-Municipal Recreation Master Plan, that would be discussed at Tri-Council as we move forward. Replacing the HVAC unit that we did on an emergency basis this year, that's already completed. The branding strategy implementation, which would be an outcome of the branding strategy, and then several other items such as the pool siding repair, pool walls and floor repairs, as well as supporting the Prescott Family Medical Associates and the Prescott Physician Recruitment through Health Innovation. So all told, that's nearly $2.9 million worth of projects. Funding from reserve would be for $1.4 million. That would be for the water tower demolition at 900, and then funding $959,000. A portion of that funding would be reliant upon the rural transit solutions being successful in that, but the remaining funding is coming from our Canadian community benefit revenue that we receive on a yearly basis to support our street reconstructions. So we can see that an estimated balance at the end of 2024 of $7 million in reserve, and primarily almost the exact same estimate for the end of 2025 when we get there for reserves. So more than happy to answer any questions you may be.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any questions on the projects? Matthew, for the water tower demolition, do we have any prices on that or RFP on that?
We do have an estimate from the engineers of $500,000. It will be unique to this particular site and situation. Obviously, the site is very close to residential as well as a long-term care home, so additional care will need to be taken when demolishing it.
The only reason I ask that is because I think I saw a higher number a few years ago.
It's been the $500,000 range for the last little while.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. The Prescott Family Medical Association support request year 1, which is coming from the money that we're not sending the St. Lawrence Lodge to pay for the building anymore. At the time we approved that, it was unclear whether the other 2 municipalities had or were going to approve it. And if they didn't, then the question is, well, what happens to our contribution? Has that been settled?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, all 3 municipalities have confirmed contributing towards it. And I believe we're looking at a tri-council meeting in May that we will discuss that from a tri-council perspective on where we are with that agreement.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Campbell?
I thought I read in the newspaper that we did get the money for the river route bus?
No, so that is for the operational side of the river route from the province, and that's the gas tax funding. The particular program that we applied through is through the federal government and specific to rural transit.
And you haven't heard yet.
We have not.
Okay, thank you.
Probably not until after the election.
Right.
Everything's on hold. Councillor Kirkby.
I just want to say that, you know, the budget here in that, about the capital operation projects, I think shows the commitment, you know, to invest in our town, right? The East Street reconstruction, the replacement of the docks, you know, the demolition of the tower. You know, these things, I feel like at times, prior to being on council, and not too badmouth council, previous councils, but I feel like feels like we're getting a lot more done and updated. And I think, you know, it's easy to support that when you see things being done, you know, being upgraded. And lots of times you don't see the work that happens under the ground. But when you talk to residents and you kind of explain where we are and what we're doing, it's a pretty easy sell. So I think they've done a good job on picking the projects here in front of us.
I think you're bang on there with most people don't see the costs and don't understand, like, that's why I brought it up. The East Street reconstruction is, you know, $1.5 to $2 million project. Those are big numbers, right? For a town of this size to be able to do that and to keep doing what we're doing, you know, $3 million in projects this year.
Yeah.
On a $12 million budget. And that's pretty good, I would say. So pretty proud of that for our town. And thanks for pointing that out, that the public doesn't, I mean, sometimes they see just what's in front of them, you know, like the recycling, is it picked up or not? But you see, there's so much more to the town than just that. All right, thank you. Any other questions? I'm gonna call the question then. All in favor? Carried, thank you. $7:15, Chloe. No resolutions, no bylaws, no notices of motion, no mayor's proclamation, so that's easy reading for me. Is there any questions from the media?
Just double checking figures.
Yep.
Okay, so your amended motion was 12,090,018.
Yes.
Okay, for 3.95%
Blended rate, yeah.
blended rate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor Shankar. I just wanted to mention
Which media are you with?
that, yep, I definitely under the media section. Shakespeare's having a Kindred Spirit cocktail party. It's next Friday night at Renegades. It's $45 a ticket. And it's, there's gonna be some entertainment and some, maybe a little surprises during the cocktail party with our actors that are going to be with us this year. So it's next Friday at 6:30, May 2nd at Renegades, Kindred Spirit under Shakespeare.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, so we're going into closed session. So the motion is that council move into closed session at 7:18 PM to discuss matters pertaining to approval of closed session minutes and potential litigation. Under section 239(2)(e), under the Municipal Act, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality of the local board, and that the CAO, treasurer, director, admin, clerk, and deputy clerk remain in the room. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor McConnell, Councillor Campbell, all in favor? Carrie, thank you. So we'll get back